something I talk about in my book, The Language of Emotions, is the concept of change. Of course, we all understand change. You want to change your behavior, change your situation, change your approach to the situation, change your approach to emotions. Change is good. It's uncertain, right? If you can just stay exactly as you are, you know how to handle that, right? But to change, it takes some courage. Something that happens with change is that there is an equal and sort of opposing force, or equal and supportive force, called stasis. And stasis means to stay the same, but it's also a kind of equilibrium. Stasis kind of settles things out and says, this is how it is now. If you're going to make an important change, it's important to understand that stasis will want you, it will want to question you. It's like, why are you changing it, right? The 5 empathic mindfulness skills that I developed and that I borrowed from other places, they work with change and stasis in the way that both want to be worked with, right? Stasis wants to be respected, change wants to be respected. Both of them want to be worked with in really kind of a step-by-step way, so that change isn't too uncertain and too terrifying, and stasis isn't too cemented and too stultifying, right? So you want to have a movement between change and stasis. But if you don't know about stasis and you try to make change and it won't happen, you're going to think of stasis as something that's, pulling you back or imprisoning you. When in fact, it becomes extremely important. Like, let's say you're making a change in the way that you approach conflict, right? And the way that you used to do it would be like you would completely give up and you would never face conflict, or you would go into it so hard that nobody wants to have conflict with you anymore because you're kind of out of control, right? So you want to make a change to that. And so you're going to want to start questioning. If you're an explosive conflict person, you're going to start questioning, where did that come from? Has that ever worked? No. What do I feel right before I go into it? You want to start really looking at your whole behavior so that you can change it. But there's going to be a part of you sort of pulling you back and making you want to do that behavior again because it is ingrained. So understanding that there's that ingrainedness, there's that grounding in it, what you want to do is use the skills of grounding, focusing, and setting your boundaries to kind of re-stabilize yourself in the new idea. You want to use burning contracts and conscious complaining to really look at why you do that explosive behavior and what it's doing for you. To do conscious complaining so that you're working those emotions out within your own empathic mindfulness practice instead of just blowing up at people. And of course, the opposite is true. If you never do conflict and everyone learns that you're a complete pushover, and that doesn't work either. It never has, right? But where did you learn it? When did it work? Is to understand why you do the behavior. And it's not because that you're not intelligent. It's because at some point it worked. It could be in childhood, but now it isn't anymore, right? So change and stasis do a dance that if you understand it, you can decide, all right, I'm not going to do the blowing up behavior. I'm going to try something different. If you can ground yourself, set your boundaries, and continually reset yourself with the skill of rejuvenation, grounding, focusing, defining your boundaries, you will arrive at a new place of stasis. Stasis will come under and support this new behavior. You just have to sort of get through that rocky part of, I don't know how to do it. Whenever there's a conflict, all the knives come out. I don't know how to put the knives away, right? And so you start learning how to put the knives away. And then your sense of stasis comes up to join that new reality, right? So now it is a change that has been integrated, and your stasis will keep it going for you so you don't have to think of it all the time. So stasis is yay, right? But if you don't know that, if you don't know that you're trying to engage your stasis so that you can make changes that will then be integrated, then you might just see your psyche fighting you for no good reason. Understanding stasis is the way to make changes, I don't want to say permanent because you can always change them again, but it's a way to ground changes in the new way you want to do this thing. You can do this with any habit. You can do it with any response to an emotion. Let's say that you refuse to do grief and you realize in your 50s that that was a terrible idea. All right, it was a good idea then, but now it's really not working. And so you're going to start working with grief, reading about grief, getting grief counseling, maybe going to grief rituals and starting to explore the world of grief. And there will be a part of you that says no. And you have to understand that that part of you is intelligent. It's not trying to bum you out. It's not trying to stop you. What it's trying to do is help you understand why you did it in the first place. Why did you never want to work with grief? What protective aspect did it have? And you thank the protective aspects and say, thank you. Now in this new time, in 2017, I want to work with grief. And so I would like, Stasis, I would like you to help lead me into grief in such a way that would create a new stasis so that I can live as a more fully functional, fully emotive person, right? Fully empathic, so that I can take care of myself. And so what you want to do with change and stasis is understand that both are important. The change processes in the empathic mindfulness skills are burning contracts, that's a big one, and conscious complaining. The stasis practices are grounding and focusing, defining your boundaries, and rejuvenation. Make room for change and stasis so that your changes can become integrated and grounded, and so that your stasis with burning contracts and conscious complaining can get up to speed on where you are now. There are no behaviors, really, unless this is a neurological issue, and then you would need to go and see someone, who can help you retrain yourself. But there are really no behavioral issues that you can't address as long as you understand change and stasis. And sometimes the addressing is to say, now I know about it, I don't seem to be able to change this behavior, but let me create a life around the behavior so that I can live more fully, so that I can be more functional, right? Change and stasis, each equal, each dancing, if you understand the dance. If you don't understand the dance, it's going to look like this, and if you understand the dance and you can access change and stasis equally, you can make changes in your life that may seem unbelievable right now, but you can do it. Thank you, change. Thank you, stasis. Thank you, 5 empathic mindfulness skills. You can move forward in your life, and change and stasis will help you. Thanks. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.